You know, Cadillac's going to Formula One next year, where it's going to be competing against Aston Martin, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Ferrari, and really pushing the V Series. And after driving this, I don't think they're going to know what hit them. Cadillac Escalade lineup was updated for 2025 with a restyled front end featuring these vertically stacked headlights and a new interior with this 55-inch widescreen display for the infotainment system and instrument cluster. All of the Escalades get these changes, but today we are in the top of the line Escalade-V. This is the high-performance version of the full-size SUV, and aside from the now $400,000 Cadillac Celestiq, it's the most expensive vehicle Cadillac sells. All of the updates carry over to 2026, and the price for this now starts at $170,595. Now, what's interesting about that is that when the Escalade-V launched for 2023, it was only about $150,000. So what does that tell me about the Escalade-V? One, must be pretty popular if they kept it around for a fourth year. And two, it must be very popular if they raise the price. And you're lucky to find one of these on a dealer lot at list price. Markups are not uncommon. It's pretty wild to consider that not only is there a regular production Cadillac that costs over $170,000 now, but it's a truck, and the Escalade lineup is Cadillac's best seller. The Escalade-V pretty much exists for one reason: to carry around its supercharged 6.2-liter V8 engine, which is rated at 682 horsepower and 653 pound-feet of torque. Similar version of this engine found in the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing Sport Sedan is rated at 668 horsepower and 659 pound-feet of torque. Escalade-V also gets a specially tuned suspension with air springs that can lift and lower it across 4 different heights, and computer-controlled Magnaride dampers. The biggest mechanical difference from when the Escalade-V launched is that instead of 22-inch wheels, this now rides on 24-inch wheels with razor-thin 40 series tires. The power gets sent to those tires through a 10-speed automatic transmission and an all-wheel drive system. This isn't a 4x4. There's no 2-speed transfer case, no locking rear differential. It does have electronic limited slip differential, as performance vehicles do. The interior is carbon fiber trim. There's great leather pretty much everywhere else, except for the headliner, which is microfiber suede. And this comes with a 42-speaker AKG audio system. 42! And I'm going to take their word for that because I don't want to count them all. Of course, this comes standard with a 360-degree camera and a digital rear view mirror. And check this out. The Escalade-V doesn't just have a lot of power under the hood, but also in the doors. Just swipe the screen down here, and they open. Don't have to go outside and get wet. All I have to do is hit the brake, and that one closes. Don't have to swipe to shut the rear door though. Of course, even though the Escalade-V is meant to be a driver's SUV, it is a luxury flagship. So rear seat comfort is paramount, and this executive seating package is really the only option that matters. It costs $7,500, and for that you get heated and ventilated seats with massage and power adjustments, plus a console with wireless charging pad and touchscreen control. And not only can you sit back here and enjoy streaming entertainment on the move, but, and this is probably better to use when it's not moving, you can pop out these business class airplane style tables, have a snack, work from home from the vehicle. Don't let the fancy duds fool you though. This has plenty of utility. Couldn't get tailgate window that opens up, and a pretty large cargo area behind the third row. But for an extra $3,000, you get even more in the stretched Escalade-V EXT. The front seat passenger also gets an entertainment screen that's filtered so it can't be seen from the driver's seat when the vehicle's in motion. And the infotainment system has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone integration, but also Google built in. So you can load apps right into the vehicle. Of course, if you bought the Escalade-V and you're worried about apps, you bought the wrong Escalade. This, of course, has a V mode that lowers the ride height, firms up the dampers, and cranks everything up to 11, including the responsiveness and the exhaust. Oh, When it's in it, this will do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds using the launch control feature that it activates. I would not recommend trying that on a public road. The idea of equipping a vehicle this big that weighs 3¼ tons with a V mode is pretty outrageous, to say the least. For those of you who don't know what that sound is, it's basically the car pouring gasoline out of the window. It's unburnt fuel that makes its way into the exhaust and ignites. Might partly explain why this has an EPA combined fuel economy of 13 miles per gallon combined. Yeah, but I'm fairly certain anybody spending 170 grand on something like this is not too sensitive to fuel prices, even if a lot of it goes to waste. Yeah, neighbors aren't gonna like this car. Fortunately, all you have to do to stop it is get out of V mode. It does do amazing things with all that fuel. I mean, this is pretty much as quick as a Chevy Camaro SS. The only time you really notice the weight is on a very twisty road. This is a tall vehicle, and that lowered suspension can only do so much. And it also becomes apparent, although not as much, when you hit the brakes. This does have a set of 6-piston Brembo front calipers, and they are Herculean. More than those brakes and the power and even the handling, what impresses me about this is the ride quality. One look at those giant wheels and those rubber band tires, and I thought this was going to be a horror. But even on absolutely awful pavement, it can hold its own against the best luxury cars. And this is not a luxury car. It's a real body-on-frame truck, although it does have a fully independent suspension. Unfortunately, the tow rating is just 7,200 pounds. But I don't think this engine will have too much trouble towing something that weighs 7,200 pounds. To really put this into perspective, you have to keep in mind that the base Escalade is $93,695. Not a small amount, but much less than this. And that gives you an idea of everything that's been packed into it. Among the wild features you get in this are a front camera, helps you see over that big hood, but also has augmented reality for navigation, and a night vision system that uses infrared to check out the vehicles in front of it, pedestrians, cyclists, and even animals. Show must go without saying that this has Cadillac's hands-free Super Cruise highway driving system. On hundreds of thousands of miles of roads, you can use it. Take your hands off the wheel, feet off the pedal. It's a lane centering adaptive cruise control, and it works as long as you have your eyes on the road. There's a camera right there making sure I'm doing that. Fit the turn signal to change lanes, and on some highways, it can even negotiate interchanges between highways if you have a route set in the navigation system. Every time I get in a Cadillac or General Motors vehicle with Super Cruise, I'm more impressed than I was the time before, and that's probably because they're always updating the software. And as far as these types of systems are concerned, it is hands down the best. As appealing as this is, it still does kind of boggle my mind that there are a lot of people willing to pay a lot of money for nonsense like this. But I do think one of the reasons the Escalade-V has done so well is that it is basically in a class by itself. Can't find another full-size truck SUV quite like this. Lincoln doesn't make a Navigator like this. Jeep doesn't make a Grand Wagoneer like this. There are some large, very powerful luxury SUVs out there, but not quite this large and powerful. In fact, when it comes to size and power, the Escalade-V's closest competitor is probably another Escalade, the Cadillac Escalade IQ. That's the all-electric version of the Escalade, which comes with a 680 horsepower all-wheel drive system that has a velocity max mode that cranks it up to 750 horsepower for short spurts. That's not positioned or tuned as a V model, but will do 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, even though it weighs more than 9,000 pounds. About a ton and a half more than this. It's interesting to note that just a couple of years ago, Cadillac was planning on going all electric, getting rid of stuff like this, and only selling stuff like that. But seeing how this costs $170,000 and that costs $160,000, I guess we know that's working out. One thing I just can't seem to figure out about this is, why did they think it needs a 42 speaker audio system?